Chicago, played at DuSable High School before he went to West Texas State and then on to glory in the NBA. And he may have another several hundred steals in him.
He shows no signs of letting up at all. You know, Dave, you were talking about that horrible beating that the Bulls absorbed. Right now, let's go get down to the scorer's table and get tonight's starting lineup.
Starting lineups for the Chicago Bulls. 6'8" forward from Central Arkansas, number 33, Scottie Pippen. 6'10" forward from Clemson, number 54, Horace Grant. 6'2" guard from Notre Dame, number 5, John Paxson. 6'6" guard from North Carolina, number 23, Michael Jordan. 7'1" center from San Francisco, number 24, Bill Cartwright. Coach for the Bulls, Phil Jackson, assisted by John Bach, Jim Clemens, and Tex Winter, the trainer, Mark Feil. At this time, we would like to honor tonight's McDonald's ball boy. Congratulations to Elliot Moore. And now your starting lineup for your San Antonio Spurs. The one forward, 6'9", from DePaul, number 34, Terry Cummings. 6'10" forward from Penn State, number 43, Frank Brekowski. 6'1" guard from West Texas State, number 10, Maurice Cheeks. The other guard, 6'8", from Georgia, number 40, Willie Anderson. 7'1" center from the Naval Academy, number 50, David Robinson. Head coach for the Spurs, Larry Brown, assisted by R.C. Buford and Greg Popovich. Trainer is John Anderson.
Already, we've seen the milestone of Mo Cheeks honored. Tonight, Larry Brown going for a milestone as well, number 500.
And if he's able to pull that off, he would become just the 15th pro basketball coach ever to post 500 career victories.
That is a hopeful sign right there. 5-0 when the building is sold out, becoming a much more common occurrence this year. Our officials, on the left is Hank Armstrong, in the middle is Ronnie Nunn, and on the right is Paul Mahalik. Spurs lead this series 21-13, but as we mentioned, they've lost 4 straight to the Bulls since their last victory over 4 years ago, December 10th, 1985. It was the Bulls 101-97 on December 29th. In the Chicago Stadium, a game that went right down to the wire. That was also the game where David Wingate took the nasty spill, missed 4 games after that. He now is not only back in the rotation, but playing perhaps his best basketball of the season off the bench. And the Spurs will need some bench efforts tonight because this is a pretty deep Chicago team they're facing. It is not just the Jordan show anymore. Robinson and Cartwright awaiting the toss from Ronnie Nunn, and we will be underway. And the Spurs control. Cummings, another Chicago native. In a matchup with Pippen at small forward, Anderson against Jordan. And Michael cutting him off, trying to post up. Back from Brekowski, and Willie loses it on the spin move. Horace Grant knocks it ahead, and here is Jordan. John Paxson, the former Spur, at the point opposite Cheeks. Paxson, one of the most accurate shooters in the NBA this year. Although he doesn't shoot that much. Pippen a little short on the attempted jam, and a loose ball foul on Grant in the battle for the rebound.
Both teams appearing a little bit nervous here at the outset. I mentioned the fact that the Bulls are coming off just a fearful whipping a couple of nights ago in Houston. They were defeated 139-112 in that game. Houston scored a season-high 41 points in the first quarter and had a 20-point lead after 12 minutes of play.
Well, that would equate to what the Spurs experienced at Denver a few weeks ago. Every team has one of those at least every year. Cummings misfires. Grant to Jordan. Through a scoreless minute, and stolen by Anderson in front of Grant. He takes away the Jordan feed. Willie all the way. Off Paxson to Cheeks. And they'll reset. Willie in the corner. Robinson handles it for the first time. They surrounded him, so it's Cheeks open and good. And 2-0 San Antonio.
Set up by the alert steal by Willie Anderson, who just missed a triple-double himself last night in Charlotte.
Here's Pippen. Again, Willie with the steal in front of Jordan this time. Rakowski all the way down. 4-0. And Willie Anderson with 2 steals, igniting the Spurs offense.
And Brick has been on fire since he became a member of the starting lineup 5 games ago. Since that time, he's been hitting 67% of his shots from the floor.
Nice switch. Rakowski stifling Cartwright, but an illegal defense. And they're going to get Robinson here. After Brick switched onto Robinson's man, Cartwright, David caught without a man. He didn't adjust quickly enough, and it's illegal D, number 1. Jordan at 33 points per game, as per usual, leading the league in scoring. No-look feed. Grant can't reverse. Tapped in by Cartwright, Paul, who had a great game in his first meeting against Robinson.
He maybe did as good a job against David Robinson as any center in the league has done this year, including guys like Hakeem Olajuwon and Patrick Ewing. David really couldn't get on track. He was 5 of 11 from the field and finished with only 14 points.
Tough running 14-footer by Willie. And he was up for the battle in Chicago as well. He had a different look on his eyes that night than I think I've seen him ever have. Jordan around and out. Robinson with a rebound. 6-2 Spurs, and they come down looking for more. Rakowski against Grant. Cummings against Pippen. Terry can overpower Scottie Pippen, but he can't bank that one home. Rebound right to David. Stays after it. That's out of bounds off Cartwright. Phil Jackson, just 43 years of age when he became the 12th head coach in Chicago history, and he calls the 22nd timeout. Down 6-2. They played almost 3 minutes. His club with only the 1 basket by Cartwright, and Brown liking the start by Willie Anderson, fueling his club's offense.
We were mentioning the fact that Willie just missed a triple-double last night. He had 11 points, 12 assists, and 8 rebounds. And Willie off to a very solid start on both ends of the floor. He's come up with a couple of steals already to go along with that flying jump shot you saw moments ago. Phil Jackson, in his first year as coach of the Chicago Bulls, took over after Doug Collins was fired last year. Jackson, of course, a former member of those great Knicks teams in the early 70s, played on the Knicks championship club in 1973. He missed the 70 title because he had back surgery.
Going for 19 straight at home, but an offensive foul on Terry Cummings. They get him for a push-off, his first of the game. You know, he talked about Willie's double-double last night and near triple-double. That may be the quietest near triple I have ever seen. I had no idea he had 12 assists and 8 rebounds by the end of that thing.
Kind of ties into the feature that we had on the Spurs Monthly Special just moments ago, talking about the fact that Willie's scoring is down, but he's doing more, and as a result, he's a happier ball player, much happier to be playing on a winner.
Jordan blowing past him, can't finger roll it in, but he does draw contact by Rakowski. His first and the team's first foul.
Well, now watch. Michael Jordan matched up on Willie Anderson. He goes blowing by number 40, Willie, and Brick has no choice but to come over from the weak side and initiate the contact. And Michael Jordan will try to score his first point of the evening.
Is that unbelievable? Already 10 40-point games, even by his standards. Not bad, as we are just past the halfway mark of the season. Got off to a great start and has taken it from there this year.
Amazing how he can score in spurts. In that first meeting between the Spurs and the Bulls back in late December, he had 34 points, but as I recall, he only had 6 at halftime.
Did most of his damage in the second half. You're right. 6-4 San Antonio. 8:35 to go. Brick free and reverses it in. Got a nice touch after the feed down low by Robinson. And a 4-point lead. Jordan all the way. Now Pippen to Paxson through his hands. Scottie Pippen, Cartwright back to Paxson. He's the most accurate shooting guard in the NBA this year. 6th overall at 55% from the field.
John Paxson always with a mixed response when he comes to the arena. You recall he was a Spurs draft choice. Had a long holdout, and as a result, the fans always held it against him. Willie Anderson continuing his hot start for the Spurs.
Is there any former Spur who is popular when they come back here?
That's right.
Here is Grant, the third-year man out of Clemson. And what a draft they ended up with once they traded to get Pippen, who was originally drafted by Seattle in '87, and then Grant, also a first-round '87 pick. Right there, they've got 2/3 of their starting front line.
Horace Grant also with a big game in that first meeting.
Look out! Robinson fouled by Cartwright. And the timing just off enough to deny him a chance to slam it down here.
Well, the oop is almost there as Robinson rolls away from Cartwright, but he has to bring it back down. That prevents him from converting, but he will go to the free throw line.
The only thing he didn't do well last night was shoot free throws. He was 5 of 10, 11 of 17 from the field, and he's got a pretty good start on his 4th consecutive Rookie of the Month award. After his initial triple-double in the NBA, San Antonio by 3, 7.5 minutes in the first. All-star Scottie Pippen, no doubt a surprise to some with relatively modest numbers, 16.5 points per game, and a lot like Anderson, an all-around contribution most nights. Jordan's first field goal. After almost 5 minutes, he's got 4 of their 10. And Grant anticipating the pass into Brakowski perfectly. Jordan 1 on 3, even he didn't like those odds. Burns hits Pippen. Point blank stop back to a wide open Jordan. Well, that's some ball handling on that possession.
Michael Jordan, a much more consistent outside shooter than he was in his first 5 years in the league. He used to be known as a streak shooter. Now he's pretty consistent.
Push foul after Jordan got the steal underneath. This may be number 2, and it is on Cummings. The Spurs were hoping they'd call Jordan out of bounds on his own momentum, and instead it's the second foul on TC, and we've got a timeout with 6:44 remaining in the first period. Our score, Chicago up for the first time, 12-11, here at sold-out Hemisphere Arena. Program presented by the authority of Paul Alexander, the National Basketball Association, and the San Antonio Spurs, intended solely for the private, non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game, in whole or in part, without the express written permission of the NBA, the Spurs, and Paul, is prohibited.
I am delighted.
Did I read that right?
Permission. You did. That's a disclaimer that has to be read at this point in the ball game. And I want everyone to know that I have these rights, but I'm being very magnanimous about it.
Bulls with their first advantage of the night, 12-11. And Pippen free from outside. Burns his first 2 of the evening. A steadily improving third-year player. Cheeks all the way through. 4 for Mo. Spurs back within 1. Paxson picking up the pace. Pippen working on Anderson here. And they have Wingate in off the bench. He draws the Jordan assignment. Grant free. Pippen underneath for the turnaround by Cartwright. And Willie taking it away from Grant, who actually had pretty good rebounding position. Underneath, they double Robinson to no avail. First bucket for David. There is that quickness, Paul. You can have 2 men. You can have 3 men on him. But if he launches himself in any kind of position, it doesn't really matter.
And already we have a very encouraging pattern developing for the Spurs. You'll notice San Antonio is getting a lot of open cutters and rollers to the hole here in the early going.
Anderson, the small forward, with Cummings on the bench after the 2 quick fouls. That one off Brakowski, maybe off Pippen. We'll see what they rule. Well, nobody knows. Armstrong looks at none. None looks at Armstrong. Chicago ball with 8 seconds to shoot. Three to shoot. Jordan with 2. Underneath to Grant. Got it off in time, but off the back of the iron. And the Spurs breathe a sigh of relief. Underneath, Anderson working on Pippen. Too hard, and Cartwright looks for the long pass. Not there. Instead, Paxson. Now it is Grant. And Horace with his second bucket. Clemson's first and only ACC Player of the Year back in 86-87. Puts the Bulls back in front.
And Horace Grant was tough on the Spurs back on December 29th when he hit 7 of 9 from the field and wound up with a total of 18 points.
Robinson to the cutter. Cheeks backhands it in. That's what you're talking about.
We've seen it repeatedly. Now we'll see what kind of defensive adjustments, if any, the Bulls will make. But every time the Spurs send a cutter to the bucket or they send a roller along the baseline, the man is open at least initially.
Under 4.5 minutes in the quarter, 17-16. San Antonio, room for Grant, but David makes him miss and captures the rebound. Vintage Robinson, even though he didn't get a rejection. Wingate making a move on Jordan, but didn't want to challenge him. And it's 3 seconds in the lane. Brakowski expected Wingate to shoot.
And in retrospect, David really should have, because he had the more open shot. It's good to be unselfish, but that was a situation the Spurs may be making one pass too many.
Willie replaced by Sean Elliott. And Stacey King, the first-round pick, 6th overall out of Oklahoma, ready to come back or to make his first appearance of the night as soon as he is allowed. Turnover by the Spurs, their 5th. And the Bulls, a better ball handling team with only 2 so far. Jordan spinning away from the double team by Robinson. And he's got 8. Well, here's his first for the highlight reel.
Probably as creative off the dribble as anybody's ever been.
Wingate and David to answer. A little bit more decisive on the feed by David Wingate that time.
Excellent penetration, drawing the Chicago defense and then kicking it off to David for the jam.
19-18 Spurs. Grant to screen for Paxson. They double John Paxson. Underneath, Jordan with the jam. A much quicker start tonight than he had in Chicago a little more than a month ago.
Infinitely quicker. Now, what the Spurs want to do defensively on Michael Jordan is keep him from getting a lot of flying dunks and getting his teammates fired up. The point being that he's going to get his points, but make him earn those points from the outside. Don't give him the jam.
Robinson and counted with the foul. A helpless Bill Cartwright watching David blow right around him.
First of all, let's take a look at Michael Jordan's jam at the one end, and now David Robinson for the 4th time tonight just rolling away from Bill Cartwright. David this time puts home the jam and has the opportunity for a 3-point play. And David's talked a lot about being the kind of guy that likes to answer a challenge. Let's don't forget that he had a very subpar game against the Bulls and Bill Cartwright in late December, and he wants to atone for that.
Well, he's more than halfway to his total of 14 that night. He's got 8. San Antonio by 2. You saw Will Perdue check in along with King. And a foul on Wingate over there on the side. His first third against the Spurs. Will have a Chicago timeout. An unenviable task for that man in the matchup with Michael Jordan. 2:54 to go in the first quarter. And San Antonio on top of the Bulls by 2. Second-year center out of Vanderbilt in for Phil Jackson, along with Stacey King, the rookie from OU. Caldwell Jones in for Robinson. And he matches up with King. Pippen against Elliott, who will be called for the foul. That is number 4 against the Spurs. Sean Elliott off the bench for the 5th straight game. The Spurs coaches hope that he can develop into the scorer off the bench that they've lacked all year.
Tough time last night in Charlotte when he played only 8 minutes with 1 of 5 from the field, wound up with 2 points.
Jordan kicks it out of bounds. Pretty much an unforced turnover. And the Spurs with the ball up by 2. Cummings has returned, scoreless with 2 fouls so far, and he works on Pippen. Tough turnaround. King may have had a hand on it. Down to Caldwell Jones, former Bull. Wingate loses it to Pippen. And only Cheeks is back. Jordan back to Pippen, and he takes steps.
Super job of not giving up on the play defensively by the Spurs. Now, yes, there was contact down there, but the contact was initiated after Pippen had drugged the pivot foot. It was a good call. It was a travel.
Second straight turnover by Chicago. And Elliott over Perdue, not able to get the roll. Look at Cummings work hard on the offensive glass. And TC on the board to make it a 4-point Spurs lead. Under 2 minutes in the first quarter. And King calls for it up high against Jones to Paxson over Cheeks. And John Paxson hits his second from outside. Had only 5 in the first meeting, already with 4 here. In the circle, Cummings to answer. Well, like Mo Cheeks, a Chicago native out of Carver High School, grew up wanting to play hockey. He was more of a Blackhawks fan than a Bulls fan growing up. Didn't get into basketball until he was a junior in high school.
I would say, given his shooting performances the last couple of games, he was channeled into the right profession.
Purdue tripped up, going for his own rebound, and it's out of bounds as the Bulls again turn it over. And Vernon Maxwell's first appearance, replacing Cheek. So Brown, with most of his depth out there on the floor right now, only Cummings among the starters, along with Wingate, Elliott, Maxwell, and Jones. Vernon off his best game of the year, season-high 16 points on 7 of 10 from the field at Charlotte last night. Wingate's been hitting that shot. Much more confident in the 17 to 20-foot range of late. Spurs by 6:56 seconds. Jordan, the double clutch feed. Purdue to Paxson. He's open again. And Jones in front of King for the board. Bulls get back. Cummings faked the 3. Elliott all the way in and counted with a foul on Purdue. That is the real Sean Elliott that we have seen so seldom this year.
And it gets a rousing standing ovation, not only from the crowd, but from the Spurs bench, including head coach Larry Brown. Beautiful up fake. He gets Pippen going and then finishes the play, something he has not been able to do consistently through the first couple of months of his NBA career.
And there's the run that he'll try to extend with a three-point play. (31-22). Spurs should get it back one more time. 32 seconds in the first quarter. King to screen, but they double Pippen, so it's Paxson open for the corner. And Robinson back in for a rebound as the Spurs now can look for the last shot of quarter number 1. Nice finish. They led early. Bulls came back, had a couple of 2-point leads, and then the Spurs with a 12-2 run in progress here. Maxwell out of his hands, luckily right there, Wingate, and an air ball. Robinson got it in time.
Just the way they drew it up, right, Dave?
Exactly. And thus will end the first quarter. And a standing ovation as the Spurs are on top by 11. 10 by Robinson to offset 10 by Jordan. And we'll be right back after these words from Diamond Shamrock.
Baskets, but he hasn't had to. Got 12 points, and they're all on the half-court offense.
All right, for his effort tonight, David Robinson is our Spur of the moment with 10 points so far. We have some other scores for you quickly here. This is a final: Detroit over Cleveland, 105-100, and another final for you in the second period. New York is leading Indiana by 2, 52-50. Let's take you back to our election central. John Kirby is standing by. John?
Well, Greg, we already have some of the numbers in the rollback election. We're going to go to them right now for you and show you that the rollback forces are doing pretty well in the election tonight, with about 121 of the 248 precincts counted. 67% of you voted for the rollback, 33% against. We'll keep you up to date on the rollback election as the night rolls on. Let's go back to the arena and Greg Simmons.
Thank you very much, John Kirby. Let's take you back to Dave Barnett and Paul Alexander.
After one, Spurs with a huge finishing rush, 10 each by Jordan and Robinson, but because of 7 rebounds from David, the Spurs out-rebound of 11-4.
Really, everything going San Antonio's way right now. We've talked about the fact that they're consistently getting people going open to the basket, and that rebounding figure very, very important, because that was one of the ways that the Bulls won that game in Chicago back on December 29th.
Greg Hodges off the bench, the three-point marksman. Jordan underneath to Purdue, and he's shy of the mark. Jones clears, Maxwell runs, Bulls get back, and it's Wingate. Spurs with 9 unanswered points in this 14-2 spurt, and Elliott will go back to the line. Foul is on Grant, his second, and a real good sign that the 2 times that Elliott has moved this decisively to the bucket, Paul.
This one didn't go, but it doesn't matter. Larry Brown still applauding the play, because not the slightest hesitation on the part of Sean Elliott. He takes it strong to the hole, unfortunately misses the first of 2 free throws.
89% at the line. 4 off the bench. Spurs lead up to 12.
A belated happy birthday to Sean Elliott, who turned 22 yesterday.
Jordan. Oh, boy, almost. Almost another one for the reel, and out of bounds off Caldwell Jones. Boy, he does it on such a spur of the moment, to coin a phrase. It's hard to capture it as soon as he does it. I mean, you have to catch your breath before you try to describe a move like that.
And Dave, you know, it's not just the levitation, it's not just the aerobatics, it's the fact that his hands are so huge he can treat the basketball like a marble.
That's over and back. Grant caught that with 1 foot over the end line. And Chicago coughs it up again. Bulls last scored with 1:45 to play in the first period. Maxwell wraparound reverse and rattles it down. He took a page out of Michael's playbook.
And a very wise decision by Caldwell Jones at the last instant to leave that ball alone and let it go. Otherwise, it might have been offensive interference.
17-2 is the run. Robinson blocking King, and it rolls to Cummings. David with 11 in Charlotte last night. His teammates would have sworn he had 13. They thought he actually got cheated out of 2 more. Wingate, a bit too hard. He'll get another chance. Alley-oop. And volleyball. Who ends up with it? Will Perdue. Michael Jordan finally ends the drought after 1:38 of this period, tacked on to 1:45 to end the first quarter without a single point.
Dave, let's watch this matchup very quickly. As long as the Bulls have this lineup on the floor with Will Perdue and Stacey King, the Spurs ought to dump the ball into David Robinson and take advantage of that.
And they won't like that. The quick outside shot by Maxwell. Jordan, 6 of 8 from the field.
Okay, we've established he can hit it from that spot.
And Willie Anderson preparing to return. Maxwell wisely slowing it up, looking to go inside. And off the Wingate tee, David misfiring. Will Perdue. Deflection, Robinson, Maxwell with the loose ball. Well, they leave him wide open. And Jones for the tap-in. 10 scoreless minutes in Charlotte last night. Off the schneid here, back to a 12-point margin. And a Phil Jackson timeout. Not much working for the young head coach of the Bulls. Here early in the second period, we have 9:21 remaining. It is all San Antonio from the mid part of the first period on. They lead by 12. We'll return for more in a moment.
Here's the last.
That is until February 14th. Call the Spurs office for more details at 224-4611. Look at the inside domination by San Antonio. And Brakowski back in off the bench for an immediate steal. Also back in Willie Anderson. Cummings hooked as he somehow managed to get the off-balance shot off. The foul is on Craig Hodges, his first second against Chicago.
And one of the keys to this early Spur lead, the dominance of the Spurs' depth. The Spurs bench has outscored that of Chicago 10-0.
As you look at the first half of the season, if there's one lack that the Spurs would like to take care of as they try and round into shape for the playoffs, it's the off-the-bench performance. That's one reason that they're hopeful Elliott can become an off-the-bench scorer. But off of the contributions last night of people like Maxwell with 16 points off the start from the bench tonight, really good signs. 1 of 2 by Cummings, third rebound for Cartwright.
And to pick up on that point, Dave, David Wingate with much more offensive output than we saw in the early part of the season.
That one through the hands of Grant. Another illustration, we said just the third rebound a moment ago by Cartwright, the backup center for the Spurs, Jones, with 4 rebounds so far. 8 turnover by Chicago. And San Antonio looking to go up by 15. Robinson to Anderson. And good Chicago defense here.
They closed it off. They've been consistently getting beat clean to the bucket, but this time they really pinched it in and really was left without anything really to do with the basketball.
And he fooled his own man. Robinson looking for a shot rather than a pass. Hodges. A couple of steps inside a 2-point range where he is most comfortable. He's 4th in the NBA in 3-point shooting. Brickowski powering in on King, and they will put Brick on the line. First foul on Stacey King, third against Chicago.
Here in the last couple of games, Brick is starting to look offensively a lot more like he did 2 years ago when he had that big season. His little baby jump hook is starting to go, and a very, very quick step, very much in evidence in the last 5 ball games that Brick has started.
In that span, he's 67% from the field. As usual, a brief rest for Jordan, and back in to replace King. In some ways, that output by Brick as a starter a little surprising because the shots should be harder to come by with Cummings and Anderson and Robinson on the floor most of the same time he's out there. 40-28. Almost 4 minutes gone in the second period. Pippen in the two-man game with Grant. Good over-the-shoulder catch, and now cross-court. Here's Hodges for three. Brick behind Maxwell, out of bounds. That actually touched the foot of Hodges, and I don't think Ronnie Nunn saw that. That should be the Spurs ball. I'm surprised Brown can smile about that.
Larry Brown with a sense of humor at this point. Of course, that 12-point lead doesn't hurt.
Pippen. Good feed to Grant, but contact before the pass. And on Brickowski, it is number 2. Just the first against the Spurs in the period.
First team foul on Spurs.
Favorable part of the schedule for San Antonio. They're here against Atlanta Tuesday, followed by Indiana. Home for 4 of the next 5. Grant, almost an air ball. Robinson clears. And a foot race just off the hand to Cummings. Quarterback Willie Anderson led him a little too long.
Well, it was worth a try as Cummings was coming clean on the post pattern, if you will. But Willie was just a little bit too much oatmeal on that one.
Pippen with the spin move. And another illegal D, so a technical foul on the Spurs, this time on Willie Anderson.
Illegal defense called on the Spurs.
And Cheeks off of Brown's bench to replace Maxwell, as Jordan will shoot the technical.
Maurice Cheeks and Vernon Maxwell.
Jordan, 85% at the line. And on a typical night, he'll get there 8, 9, 10 times at least. The Spurs have held him to only 3 free throws so far in this one. That's a positive sign. Cartwright back in. Quiet so far tonight. And he got shoved from behind by Robinson. David's first.
Number 50, David Robinson, his first, second.
Well, one of the reasons that Bill Cartwright was so successful against David back in December is that he was able to establish good inside position down low. David not wanting to yield the position, but this time gets whistled for the foul.
Jordan followed and almost in by Grant. Showed his athletic ability at 6 feet 10. Cummings all the way, fouled by Hodges. Not a whole lot he could do. He was being overpowered by Cummings thundering in on him, and that's his second.
Well, even though Hodges picked up the foul, really a pretty decent job by him defensively as he closes off the angle. Terry Cummings trying to get the ball to Frank Brickowski on the break. And watch Hodges play the angle there and force Cummings to take the tough shot.
What a week for Terry Cummings with 52, his career high in the first Charlotte game on Wednesday, followed up with 29 and 11 rebounds last night. Paxson replacing Hodges. So in that span, he has raised his scoring average by a full point in just 2 games. And is 17th in the league standings. He's got 7 in this one. And again, the Spurs up by 13. Full scored a quick 20, and then they have really been hard to come by since then. On pace for about 80, 85 points at this rate. Cartwright free on the baseline, and Brickowski another rebound.
You know what's interesting, Dave? The Spurs are the team that have played back-to-back games, played last night, and yet in the early going, the Spurs much the quicker, fresher team.
Well, on the charter, they were talking about it. They knew this crowd was going to rock it tonight. So the adrenaline factor overcoming the fatigue factor, which is minimalized because they got home and got a full night's rest, and it's helped Robinson. A 12.9 rebound first half already.
when he fattens out his arsenal and completes his repertoire with moves like this, they're going to pass the law against David Robinson. No way to stop that. One more look. The up fake and the curl around with the left hand, and Robinson now with the opportunity to complete the three-point play.
Cartwright's third foul. He's out. And Stacey King is back in. I don't think that's a move he would have even attempted a few weeks ago, much less have executed to perfection as he did there. And the league now up to 16 after his three-point play.
That's the residue of a lot of hard work and practice and a lot of private sessions with Coach Larry Brown and also Greg Popovich.
But you get the feeling if they told him, David, we want you to develop a shot from midcourt. You know, by the end of the week, he might hit 50% of those. And Jordan with 17 now.
Yeah, I was just going to say, the reason being would be that he would be willing to attempt it.
Willing and able. Underline able. I've yet to see the athletic feat he can't master. Rakowski for the turnaround. Rattles it down in the face of Grant. 7 by Brick. The lead back up to 16.
Grant's given away a lot of weight, and Brick took advantage of it. He was able to set up only 6 feet from the bucket. That was a gimme.
Two-man game, and Pippen flies for the jam and a three-point opportunity. Sean Elliott commits his second foul. Pippen quiet, only his 4th point.
Well, Dave, it goes without saying there's only one Michael Jordan, but in terms of aerial daring do, Scottie Pippen is really closing the gap. He's about as exciting a player you're ever going to see that isn't named Michael Jordan. Pippen coming off just an atrocious performance against the Rockets when he was only 2 of 13 from the field.
Well, has he gotten better in long strides? 7.9 as a rookie, 14.4 last year, 16.5 this year. Well, they beat the press. Elliott saving the possession after a good job beating the pressure, and the fans like the hustle. Anderson throws it away. King in front of Robinson for the steal. Some minor elbows, not worth a whistle. Paxson again from outside. And they cut the 16-point lead down to 11 as we go under 5 minutes of the first half.
John Paxson, a guy who's earned his NBA keep by being consistent, just doesn't make mistakes. Matter of fact, in that first meeting, he played 32 minutes and did not turn the ball over once.
Robinson powerful enough to beat the double team and the foul with King on his back, and another three-point opportunity. Pure strength on this one.
Well, Dave, in the last minute, we've seen the finesse move and then the power move. Maybe next time, just to make it sporting, he'll try to do it blindfolded. And Robinson with yet another three-point chance. And he's got it rolling tonight, trying to make a statement to the Bulls and particularly Bill Cartwright, who really gave David a tough time in late December at Chicago Stadium.
16 with 9 rebounds and a couple of blocks. There's still a lot of basketball to be played here in the first half. Jordan with the step on Anderson, and Paul Mahalik with the whistle on the contact by Willie. This is his first and the 4th team foul.
Just amazing quickness on the part of Jordan. Against anybody else, Willie probably slides over in time to draw the charge, but no chance at all there.
Sean Elliott.
Elliott replaced by Wingate. And Jordan back to the line. Last year averaged only 23.5 in the 2 games against San Antonio. A credit to the defense of Alvin Robertson, among other things, but he was without a rebound. And one thing that he's taken a lot of pride in this year is the fact that he is a better rebounder. His assists are up to 6.5 per game, which leads the team. 7.1 rebounds, which is right below Grant for the team leadership. But he's not having to do it as a point guard. That was his big contention with Doug Collins. He didn't want to shoulder as much load as Collins designed in their attack last year. That one's still Spurs ball. Although Collins could point to unprecedented results, he did take him to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Maybe the most celebrated position change in NBA history.
San Antonio timeout. 4:17 to play first half. And the Spurs hanging on to a double-digit advantage, 50-38, here late in the first half.
And you'll see that the Spurs are just sticking it inside on the Bulls.
Lucky they are, because they're not hitting from outside as Chicago is. Cummings hoisting up another miss from outside, and Pippen controls. 50-38 San Antonio. We approach the 4-minute mark, and Cummings hustling down for the defensive play. Wingate not able to spot Robinson. Now he does, but Jordan also. And Wingate perhaps telegraphing that pass. Each team with 10 turnovers. Pippen knifing down the baseline. He's got 7. And as close as Chicago's been in quite some time, they've trailed by as many as 16 here in the second quarter. A respectable road team. They're 10-14 away from Chicago Stadium. Tough ball away. Everything going for David tonight. 7 of 9, 18 points for the Admiral.
You think of David getting most of his points on stickbacks, but tonight he's showing it all to us.
And King on the second chance gets his first 2. The consensus All-American from Oklahoma, the Big 8 Player of the Year as a senior. Stunned a lot of people that he fell all the way to 6th in the draft. He was talked about as the first pick, perhaps, by Sacramento. Maybe they wish they had him. Foul on Pippen is his first.
33, Scottie Pippen.
Willie Anderson with the inside dip, then takes it back to the baseline. And Scottie Pippen can't quite slide over in time. You see the contact not only with the body, but with the hand as well. And Phil Jackson having another tough night in Texas. He was down by 20 points after 1 quarter 2 nights ago in Houston against the Rockets.
Willie with the career-high 12 assists last night. He's halfway to that mark already here, along with 6 points. We'll see if Robinson rests the final 3 minutes of the first half here. Wingate hits the deck. Got his feet tangled up with Jordan, and Cummings in front of Michael Jordan for the deflection. Chicago in the midst of a 4-game road trip over 8 days. They'll play at the Lakers Wednesday. So they've got some time off before they go from one Western Conference frying pan into the fire at the Forum on Wednesday. Pippen threw a double team, barely drew iron, but they may get Wingate for contact here as he flew past Scottie Pippen. Nope, it's going to be number 2 on Willie.
Willie Anderson.
Scottie Pippen with some pretty impressive hang time himself. You see him release the ball on his way back down, and it'll be Willie Anderson whistled for the foul. Willie does make contact with the right arm.
A lot of people say that there are no more sleepers in the NBA draft, and they point to Pippen. They say if a guy from Central Arkansas, an NAIA school, can be discovered in time to become the 5th player in the draft overall, you will never see a pick like a Jack Sikma. Any one of a number you could point to, guys who played in a virtual vacuum in college, and one team finds out about him, they're able to sneak him through the first round. These days, everybody knows about a Scottie Pippen.
Bob Bass loved him.
Anderson over Jordan. 8 for Willie. And back up by 13. 2:22 in the half. One of the Spurs' most consistent halves of the year. Stacey King, an off-balance left-handed fall away. Having a respectable rookie year, just under 7 points per game. Tonight, as last night, good crisp passing by the Spurs, and Willie gets the roll. So with Robinson resting, Willie shouldering the offensive load last couple of possessions. Not much room for Grant, and they'll call Mo Cheeks for a push from behind in the double team with Jones.
Number 10.
First foul on Cheeks.
His first.
We'll see how Mo draws that first foul of the evening. You see Caldwell Jones sliding over. Mo trying to help, and he'll pick up the foul on Grant. Bulls have a reputation as a pretty good defensive team, but they have really been getting riddled the last couple of games. Houston had 77 points on the board at halftime 2 nights ago at the Summit. And we have 1:43 left in the half here, and Spurs already with 58 points showing.
Robinson back in for Cummings. 5 rebounds for Grant in addition to 5 points. He was a big factor, as you can see, in the first meeting. And there's rebound number 10, already a double-double for Robinson. Maxwell in. 90 seconds in the first half, 11 to shoot. Robinson out of a double team. And Grant starts the rebound in one motion to Michael Jordan. And he wants three. He's added that to his arsenal. His first 5 years in the league, he made 58 total three-pointers. This year, that's his 53rd.
And he has an excellent three-point percentage as well. He's hit 53. He's only attempted 135.
That's right at 40% for the year. Loose ball. And the Bulls, maybe with the makings of a late run here late in the first half. They've cut a 16-point lead to 9, and Jordan hanging long enough to feed Grant for the foul on Vernon Maxwell. This is not what the Spurs had in mind when they got Robinson back in. They wanted to solidify what they had.
Just an incredible play. It won't make the highlight reels because the Bulls were unable to convert, but watch Michael Jordan hang in the air, and at the last possible instant, spot the cutter Grant inside, and that's as impressive a bit of athleticism as you'll ever see on any of those flying slam dunks.
Where Joe Average Pro, when he leaves his feet, may have time to consider two options, you get the impression Jordan's mind is flicking through 5 or 6 options between leaving the floor and coming back down. So 58-50. Stacey King tripping David Robinson with a hip check. That is his third, so he and Cartwright each with 3 fouls here in the first half.
Well, Stacey also grabbed David on the way by, and from his standpoint, it's a good thing he did because David Robinson was free.
Well, among his many milestones, he's 1 rebound away from passing Cadillac Anderson for second on the all-time rookie rebounding list, behind only Swen Nader, and King heading to the bench with Will Perdue checking in. 13th leading scorer, 4th leading rebounder, 4th leading shot blocker in the NBA. And he got up over 3 blocks per game with that 11 in Charlotte last night. Jordan. Roll wasn't there for him this time. Another Robinson rebound. Difference of about 2 on the 2 clocks. We'll see what the Spurs do. Brown wants him to pull it out, but Robinson running right into Perdue's shoulder. I think he's okay, but he'll remember this.
Dave's fine, but that's much like a wide receiver getting clothesline coming across the middle. And Dave wants to take it in on Will Perdue, who is not known as a very physical player, and in fact is giving up a lot of weight to David Robinson. Watch Perdue with the right wing extended, and it just clotheslines David.
Shades of Jack Tatum.
Exactly.
Now, they may be discussing who committed it, and Jordan says, hey, don't put it on me. They originally said 23, definitely wrong, and now they corrected and say 32 Perdue.
Well, you wonder how there could be the slightest amount of confusion on this one, as
No.
David is almost decapitated.
No kidding. So Jordan still foul free, and Perdue to the bench. They get an extra shooter, and Craig Hodges in with 17.5 seconds before halftime. And the Spurs counter with Brakowski checking in to replace Caldwell Jones. Well, the way he's gone the last 24 hours, you have to think he may be setting a whole new standard for himself for the second half of the season. And that assumes that it's possible for him to play a whole lot better than he did in the first half.
Yeah, I was interested in his comments last night after the game. I mean, it's obvious that he played incredibly well. But he said that he felt better than he felt all year long. He felt the way he used to feel in college. His movement was just free-flowing.
Hodges for 2, barely in time to beat the end of the first half. And Brakowski's going to let it fly, not quite enough. And after trailing by 16, Chicago cuts it to 9. Brown wanted it 20, didn't get it. He'll settle for a 9-point halftime advantage over the Chicago Bulls at sold-out Hemisphere Arena. They have seen 19 from Robinson and a like number from Jordan, and it's the Spurs by 9 at halftime.
She's all ours.
Boy, look at the halftime shooting by San Antonio. 62%. Most of that on inside play. They made 14 of 15 layups. Chicago at 52% left in the dust of San Antonio. Each team 75% from the line. A big rebounding edge with Robinson almost as many rebounds as the entire Bulls roster. He had 11. The Bulls collectively had 13. And you see the inside game. So pretty obvious, Paul, in the second half, Chicago has some inside deficiencies to try to shore up. If they didn't have 22 from Jordan, no way they'd be within 9 because of the half that Robinson had with 21 points.
Everything going the Spurs' way. And as we take a look at these individual scoring stats, remember that Bill Cartwright really had the better of it against David Robinson the first time they got together in December. At halftime of this ball game, David Robinson 21 points, Bill Cartwright 2.
And he took a licking from Will Perdue. He's still ticking as we get set to start the second half. Spurs up by as many as 16 in the first half. 12 and 31 at this point a year ago. They're trying to win their 31st of this season tonight. And here's Jordan underneath. Give him 24. And a 7-point margin. So the Chicago run late in the first half continues on their first possession of the second half. Rakowski pretty effective in his 5th straight start in the first half. The matchup with Grant, who led the Bull rebounders with a total of 7. Robinson turns again on Cartwright. 23 points on 8 of 11. No, we're not Channel 9, even if it is still the Bulls versus the Spurs. We'll try and correct it, and there we go. Gremlins in the system.
Thought we had a video identity crisis for a minute.
Cartwright, an air ball. Boy, he is really a non-factor tonight. And in the scramble for the rebound, Scottie Pippen called for the loose ball foul, his second. Well, it's amazing how calmed down Larry Brown is this year. A couple of times in the first half last year, he would have exploded. The fact they didn't get a 20-second timeout before halftime, he would have gone off last year. But a much more calm guy with the talent that he's got assembled this year. Anderson travels.
Yeah, what was it that Larry was telling us at an airport a couple of weeks ago? He thinks that right now he's asleep and dreaming, and he's hoping nobody's going to pinch him.
He's afraid he's going to wake up, look down his bench, and see the same cast of characters he had last year. No offense to them, they're very nice guys. They just they would not be 30 and 13 at this point in the year. DeVore, 26 for Jordan. Still the only Bull in double figures, but he's keeping them within shouting range.
Jordan, a couple of weeks ago, became the Bulls' all-time leading scorer, surpassing the old record set by Bob Butterbean Love.
Didn't take him long, but 5.5 years. Rakowski sliding away from Grant, a blind reverse for his 9th point. 65 to 56. Paxson, some nice long-range bombs in the first half for him. Rakowski switching over on Cartwright, and then in front of Jordan to knock it out of bounds. Vintage Brick defensively.
And Dave, here in the opening moments of the third period, my initial impression is that Red McCombs may have to dig down deep in those pockets and charter flights more often, because right now you could never tell that the Spurs played on the road last night.
Nobody on Grant, and 8 points for Horace Grant. Looked like Robinson expected Brick to still be on Grant. Brick expected Robinson to be, and so he stayed on Cartwright. Yeah, the Spurs well on their way to being 2-0 on charter flights. But had they not chartered in last night, you're looking at about a 5 a.m. wake-up, 2 flights in from Charlotte. First one about 5:30 Central Time. If you're lucky, you're going to get here about 2 o'clock Central Time in the afternoon. And you're cooked. I mean, there's no way you can have this type of energy level.
Particularly when it's your 44th game of the year.
Well, thus far, money well spent. Here's Cartwright. Not there. Rakowski controls, and Grant hooked him in committing his 3rd and the 2nd team fouls.
Just sensational inside rebounding positioning by Frank Rakowski.
I don't know who taught Bill Cartwright that shot, but I hope he stays away from my son. I don't know anybody who could be as effective as Cartwright has been in his career with that motion.
Not the prescribed method of doing things at all, because he's really not shooting the ball down his line of sight.
This is trouble, his 4th foul in that matchup with Robinson.
On the other hand, Terry Cummings with the sweet stroke can't get it to go off the front iron this time. And Bill Cartwright in a heap of foul trouble.
2 points, 3 boards, 4 fouls for Cartwright. Purdue, who clotheslined Robinson late in the first half, reminded of that fact by the Spur fans as he replaces Cartwright.
And right now is when the Spurs ought to extend their lead. Pound the ball inside to Robinson on Purdue.
Well, they tried to get it to him outside here, and it bounced off his head and out of bounds. Chance for the Bulls to cut it down to 5. It's been a slow, methodical comeback, but an effective one nonetheless, since they trailed by 16. Purdue selected 1 pick after Willie Anderson went to the Spurs in the 88th draft. A little bit of a drop-off there. Jordan lining in his 28th of the evening. And Larry Brown has seen enough. He wants a timeout. 8:24 to play in the 3rd period, dominated by Chicago so far. And they're within 5. Our score, the Spurs 65, Chicago 60, back at Hemisphere Arena after this.
You're eating healthier, nutritious foods, choosing from nature's finest. And to help you serve wholesome, well-balanced meals, Buttercrust bakes a variety of quality breads, including honey wheat, flavored with pure honey. Split
Quarter, Spurs lead cut to 5, 65-60. A little bit slow out of the gate here in the second half. See what they talked about in the huddle. Cummings lines in his 9th point. Perry after 52 and 29 in the back-to-back set with the Charlotte Hornets. Grant cut off by Burkowski. Pippen held to 8 first-half points by the defensive Cummings, but he got him off his feet, flies in, had a dunk in mind, but Robinson commits his 2nd foul. Scottie Pippen headed for the slam dunk competition All-Star Saturday in Miami.
At some point, Scottie Pippen ought to do a commercial for his surgeon. He had delicate back surgery last year. A ruptured disc was affecting his sciatic nerve. Boy, you could never tell him now.
We'll go from Slam Dunk Saturday to the All-Star team for the Eastern Conference a week from tomorrow. 1 of 2, 67-61. Long time to think about a 3. Cummings thought better of it. They triple Robinson. They've seen about enough of him, and Jordan reaches in to commit his 1st foul of the night. But it's the 4th Chicago team foul.
Well, as low as David gets this ball here in the right block, the Bulls have to converge defensively. A lot of hands reaching in there. But if David had been able to complete that play without that defensive help, he would have taken Will Purdue to the cleaners, because he was just in too deep for Purdue to do anything about it.
And the Bulls have made up their minds they're not going to let Robinson have another 21-point half. They've committed just about all their defense to stopping him inside, and as most teams have done this year, they seem ready to dare the Spurs to try and beat them from outside. It's been gummed up in the interior of the Spurs offensive set. Robinson up to 25 to go with a dozen rebounds, and they lead by 8. Robinson switching off on Pippen, who blows right past him. Scottie Pippen to double figures. He's got 11. They're back within 6. Cummings doubled underneath. Jordan stayed with him, so whoever goes into a post-up position for the Spurs apparently is going to get the automatic double team here in the second half. Technical foul on Cummings. Well, he's a Pentecostal minister. He is the most mild-mannered guy off the court you'll ever see, and I don't know that he has ever had a technical foul.
We'll try this one on. Monday night, we saw A.C. Green get a technical
That's right.
in the game against the Lakers. So A.C. Green and Terry Cummings with technicals in the same week. I'll virtually guarantee you that's unprecedented.
The men of the clock, both of them. 69-64. Well, Cummings with one more parting shot that time for Ronnie Nunn. Wingate in off the bench and right to work. Second bucket for Wingate. Pippen at the other end. A passable imitation of number 23.
Well, you know, he sees him so much at practice every day. I guess a little bit of it rubs off.
Robinson again triple teamed, and they are ready to send him to the line, it looks like, every time he gets the ball. This is the third foul on Pippen, so now it becomes a contest of how many individuals they can afford to get into foul trouble.
Exactly. They just keep rotating them in there. They got Cartwright in foul trouble. Now Purdue picks it up as Davis just eating him up, and they'll just keep rotating people in there as long as they have to. So the question becomes, does David convert the free throws, something he did not do effectively last night in Charlotte.
Tonight, on the other hand, 10 of 12 from the line as Elliott replaces Cummings. And 8 of 11 from the field for David. 27. It's a good thing he did all that off-season weightlifting. He built up his arms because he takes a pounding. I mean, the cumulative effect of the blows that he takes in a game like this put you or me in the hospital. Wingate called for a reach foul against Jordan. Second foul on David and on the team.
The crowd boos, but that's what happens when you go up against Michael Jordan's quickness. You know, it's one thing to see him on TV, but to see him live 6 feet in front of you, he is quicker with the ball than any other player on the floor is without it.
Paxton off the back of the iron. Look at the elevation by Robinson. He was about shoulder high to the rim when he brought that one in. Elliott against Pippen. In the two-man game has David. Paxton knocks it free. And finally with 3 to shoot, Robinson. Here's Cheeks for 3 just in time. And Elliott for the tip-in.
And that's just a backbreaker for the Bulls, who had played an outstanding defensive series. But Cheeks gets the jumper off before the shot clock, and Elliott is right there for the tip. Good to see the crowd in Sean Elliott's corner.
Cheeks for the deflection. Well, you don't coach timing like that shown by Sean Elliott for the tip just a moment ago. 75-66. Jackson for a timeout. 5 minutes and 48 seconds to go in the third period. The Bulls control the early part of this period. San Antonio answering with the run to lead it by 9.
I've seen him all year long.
Has not shot very well since that change off the bench. 6 of 21, 29%. But tonight, it seems to be turning around for him. 2 of 3 from both the field and the line, and an active 9 minutes for those 6 points. Pippen throwing in, shot clock under 10, and Jordan thought about a 3. Reverse, a little shy of the mark. Purdue battling along with Wingate and Grant draws the foul. Number 3 on Robinson.
Well, the Bulls now getting much more aggressive on the glass. You see Grant come up with the loose ball, and then the reach in right there will send Grant to the free throw line. Well, what a nightmare that was for Frank Brakowski momentarily defensively when he was locked up one-on-one on the perimeter with Michael Jordan.
Like staring at oncoming Porsche's headlights right in the face from a different distance of about 10 feet.
You know what's coming.
Nice roll for Grant, his 9th point. Here's an amazing number. The Spurs' worst shooting quarter in this game was the second. They hit a mere 57%. They were 65% in the first, 71% so far in the third. Jordan clears the offensive board, and they'll try again to cut it to 6. Jordan from the top of the key, unable to do so, knocked out, and still Chicago ball.
And Dave, what that stat tells you is that this has been a miserable defensive road trip for the Bulls, who allowed the Rockets to shoot almost 63% 2 nights ago.
3 inside. Pippen missed a jam. That's the second missed dunk of the night for him. Jordan knocked away. Cheeks with another steal. And Elliott, to almost finish it off, stays after it, and he's fouled. Larry Brown said an amazing thing on the plane back from Charlotte last night. Sean Elliott has yet to get a layup off a fast break this entire season. This was almost his first.
Yeah, once again, he can't finish, although we did see him finish very impressively on a half-court drive earlier. But Sean, to his credit, at least stays after the offensive rebound and will be rewarded by a trip to the free throw line.
Maybe the biggest thing he's had to get used to in his rookie year doesn't have anything to do with the knee. That's no problem. It's the NBA style of contact. One thing that when he finished drives at Arizona, he didn't have to worry about. He wasn't going to get popped quite as hard as they do in the pros.
Sean would do well to spend some time in the weight room during the offseason.
Jordan, again, a bit long. Wingate will start the break. And Elliott with the jumper. Again follows his own miss with a great leap, but Purdue stolen almost by Cheeks. Right in front of the scorer's table with great hustle.
Sensational effort by a pair of Spurs. First of all, Sean Elliott in keeping that ball alive. And then veteran Mo Cheeks almost coming up with the steal.
Spurs get Cummings back in, and Brakowski arrest. 4:45 to play in the third. 77-67 ball game. Pippen really forcing a drive, and they say out of bounds, and Hank Armstrong, I believe, will correct his call. Well, he looked right at Brown, and Brown immediately sat down. He said Chicago ball. He's going to keep saying Chicago ball. Didn't see how it was possible for a Spur to touch it, but Brown bought it. Whatever he said. Pippen from outside. Chicago finally going a bit cold from the field, and a loose ball foul on the Chicago backup center, Purdue. That is his third. So he and Cartwright combining for 7 fouls in their individual battles with Robinson tonight.
And that bodes very well for the Spurs as far as the last 16 and a half minutes of this game are concerned. Long rebound coming off to David Wingate there, and Will Purdue guilty of the push-off, and he'll shoot.
Stacey King, his replacement. Wingate, a 75% free thrower. Had a shaky mid part of the first half of the season. He has been dynamite the last several weeks or so. 78-67. Bulls cut it from 16 to 5. Now back into a double-digit pad for San Antonio. Alley-oop. Robinson spotted it. Got it away from Jordan. And Paxson screaming for the ball. He was open momentarily. King traveled. Only the 11th Chicago turnover, 15 by San Antonio.
Stacey King, the all-time Big 8 shot blocker, but that time definitely moving the pivot foot as he tries that pirouetting move on the left side of the lane.
Chicago's first turnover of the third period took him almost 8 minutes. There's the double team on Robinson. Quickly kicked it out. The open man is Elliott from the corner. Double figures for Sean. 6 of his 10 here in the third period. He had been under double figures 12 of the last 14 games before tonight. Grant turning into a big rejection by David. Grant had no chance. Here's Cheeks. Up and over. Crowd was ready to blow the roof off the place had that one gone down, and a 20-second timeout by Jackson. That would have put the Spurs up by 15 with 3.5 minutes in the third quarter. Robinson up to 3.09 blocks per game, and that trails only Akeem, Ewing, and Bowles.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing what an 11-block game will do for your average.
Make a few more of those, he may lead the league. Well, he said the elbow to the neck by J.R. Reed last night, not the thing to do if you're in a mano-a-mano situation with the Admiral, because he does have a temper. He doesn't always show it, but when he does, I don't think there's a human being in the league that can stop him.
Well, as we see, David Robinson now number 4 in the NBA shot-blocking race. But, yeah, you're absolutely right. David has the ability that a lot of athletes lack, that when he's ticked off for whatever reason, he can channel that reaction into performance instead of just getting mad. And I think it's interesting how we have a tendency to label people. A lot of people thought that because he was from the Naval Academy and a very intelligent guy, that he somehow lacked competitiveness on a street level. Not at all. Ask J.R. Reed about that.
Missed by Jordan. Robinson with another rebound. His 14th of the game. Cummings lines in another one. We go down to the 3-minute mark of the quarter. The Spurs have built almost all of that 16-point lead back. Jordan the give and go. Grant on the second try. 11 for Horace Grant. Spurs want to run off the Chicago make, but the Bulls do get back in time. Shot clock under 10. Elliott again trying it from outside. An 8-point period. Boy, if this turns into the game where Elliott really blossoms and takes off in the second half of his rookie year, we'll remember this for some time. Jordan's going to go back to the line. Wingate tried his best to draw the charge, and they'll call Elliott for the helping foul, his fourth against the team.
Yeah, Sean Elliott is charged with the foul here, but Dave, to pick up on your point, I'm in full agreement. If he can get this crowd back in his corner, if all these people can be turned back into Elliott's nest, if you will, it could do so much to help his confidence, because it's been a real tough 6 weeks for the rookie out of Arizona.
And by the by, is that the greatest
ever
promotional thing ever? The 30 or so tickets that Sean buys for the underprivileged youth of San Antonio. Elliott's nest just above us and to our right. For the first time in, B.J. Armstrong, the rookie from Iowa. He replaces Pippen. Look at the list, the whole host of Bulls in foul trouble. Only Robinson and Elliott with 3 for the Spurs.
You mentioned B.J. Armstrong in the game for the Bulls. Armstrong, one of 3 Chicago first-round draft picks.
The third being Jeff Sanders, who doesn't get off the bench all that often. 6'9" forward from Georgia Southern. Boy, Maxwell really airmailing Wingate here. Overthrows him by about 10 feet. Brown just ecstatic at the game that Vernon had last night. I think he may be rethinking tonight.
Well, that's what's so tragic about it, because Vernon was 7 of 10 from the floor and really played well defensively. You thought he was getting his pace and his aggressiveness back, but that was not a smart play.
Jordan with that incredible hang time. Mercy, how does he stay up so long? 33. Wingate. King got a hand on it, but he also got contact. And this would be his 4th. It is. So now the 3 biggest Bulls, all with 4 fouls, except for Purdue with 3. This being number 4 on King.
Not the kind of shape the Bulls want to be in on the road. Of course, simply from an entertainment standpoint, the ideal scenario here for Spurs fans would be to enjoy a rousing Spurs victory and a 19th straight home court victory, along with one of those otherworldly performances by Michael Jordan, and right now we're right on script.
Now the promoters would say Jordan gets his 50 or 60, and the Spurs get at least 125, and everybody gets the free burgers, and the Spurs win. Well, everything but the burgers right on pace with 1:50 to go in the third. Well, for the most part, it's been single coverage. Jordan doubled here, the no-look feed to King. And he has about as many low post moves as most rookies you'll ever see come into the NBA. 11-point game. Willie Anderson back in after long third quarter rest. Rakowski to hook and answers the bucket by King. Rick with 11.
If he gets it going offensively, which he shows every sign of doing over the last 5 games, he's going to improve the Spurs immeasurably, and there's no way that guy can improve.
Can't get the 3? Okay, I'll take the Tomahawk 2. 88-77, down to 53 seconds. Here's Maxwell, thought better of the long shot. Now a very low percentage move, but the result is there for Vernon Maxwell, his 4th point. Could almost hear Brown saying, no, 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 great shot. I think it all comes down to his confidence. He doesn't think that he can miss any shot. He's that confident in his abilities. Hodges for a 3. As usual, he'll be part of the three-point shootout contest All-Star Saturday in Miami. That's his first of this game, his 52nd of the year.
He had 4 of those trays 2 nights ago against the Rockets, and you hope he doesn't heat up because he killed the Spurs here at the arena last year.
Willie almost a 3. King with 5 seconds. They've got time. Hodges measuring it. That is a 2. And not there as the third quarter comes to a close. At the end of 3, our score, the Spurs 90 and the Bulls 80. San Antonio 12 minutes away from their 19th straight here at home, and we're back after this from Diamond Shamrock.
Now back here in the Spurs Center, and the key there, of course, in that third quarter, Sean Elliott finding his shot.
Well, he needs to. Scottie Pippen's running around trying. Everybody, the whole Bulls team is trying to stop David Robinson in the paint, and now they've got foul troubles with their centers, and Sean and Terry Cummings, these guys have to stand up and hit jump shots.
Kobe touched on it. David Robinson, they're sending everybody after him after he had a 21-point first half.
Well, that's right. He's going to have to, when he gets triple team, he's going to have to pitch it back out, and they're going to have to swing the ball real quick, and somebody should be open because there's too many guys in the middle. There's got to be somebody on the outside open.
Yeah, well, for that reason, David Robinson, by the way, continues to be our spur of the moment here. In the third period, he has a total of 27 points, 15 rebounds, and 4 blocked shots. Let's check some other scores for you quickly. A final we just got in. The Knicks defeat the Pacers 112-98. In the fourth period, Seattle is leading Washington by 2, and also in the fourth quarter, Orlando is losing to Los Angeles 117-110. Let's take it back to our Alexa control right now. John Kirby is standing by with an update on the rollback election. John?
Well, Greg, the rollback election is not as close as the Spurs game. Let's go right to the numbers. 64% of you voted in favor of the rollback today. 36% voted against. We'll have complete details on the rollback election tonight at 10. Join us then. Greg?
All right, thank you very much, John. From rollback to round ball, Dave Barnett and Paul Alexander at courtside.
Back at Hemisphere Arena, 90-80, San Antonio over the Bulls as we get set to start the fourth quarter. Just saw Frank Rakowski's girlfriend as Brick inbounds it. Wingate still in the matchup with Jordan. Maxwell, Brick, Robinson, and Anderson still out there. And Armstrong head-to-head with Maxwell. Stacey King against Rakowski. And Armstrong reached in, slapped it off the knee of Brick and out of bounds. Through 3 periods, the Spurs at 62% from the field. The bench outscoring Chicago 25-13. Jordan with 35, 13 of 22 from the field, 8 of 8 from the line. Robinson with near identical numbers to last night, give or take a few blocks. Those are the same points and rebounds he had in Charlotte last night. Bulls at 50% from the field. Out rebounded 33-21 for the game. 37 for Air Jordan. Their record for fewest rebounds in a game may be in jeopardy. They had 28 against Philadelphia, only 21 through 3 quarters of this one. But with the Spurs hitting 62%, not that many boards to be had. All alone, Willie rattles down his 12th. And the lead is back to 10. Jordan. Tap miss finally made by Stacey King. He's got 8 points off the bench. The Chicago offense, Paul, pretty much coming down to Jordan 1-on-5 the last several minutes.
He just tries to penetrate and take his chances, and the other 4 guys hit the offensive board.
Great feed, Anderson to Robinson. Willie now up to 9 assists after he had a career-high 12 last night. A lot of them going to David. They've got their telepathy working. Good entry feed, Armstrong to King, and the 2 number 1 draft picks hook up. 94-86. Cartwright back in with 4 fouls. King also playing with 4. Rick with the screen to get Jordan out of the way. There goes Willie for the reverse jam. And Chicago wants another timeout. .54 to play. Anderson has him up and rocking again as the Spurs lead it by 10.
People often ask me, when buying fresh chicken, what's the best color to look for? Well, some of my colleagues think the color should be slightly yellow, while others believe it should have a bluish tint. Actually, it's quite simple. For the absolutely freshest chicken available, the color to look for is red. Trust it. Bon appetit, y'all.
H-E-B brand chicken, the freshest chicken in these parts. You have our name on it.
F-R-E-S-H-E-B.
The winner. In Texas, Ford is #1, period. Final score, 11,596 more Ford sold than our closest competition. 11,596 more satisfied Texas Ford owners. Why? Because Ford has America's best-built, best-selling cars and trucks. So next time you hear someone claiming they're #1 in Texas, just remember this number. Or better still, remember this.
Texas Ford and you.
With each 8-gallon purchase of any Diamond Shamrock gasoline, we'll give you one of these to put on one of these. Then, when you collect enough of these, you can use them like these when you purchase gas or groceries at participating Diamond Shamrock corner stores. Diamond Shamrock's frequent fill-up discounts. They're like money in the tank.
4 remaining. Inside, it's turned around quite a bit. Stacey King having a nice second half run. Grant, Pippen, Jordan also contributing inside. The Spurs have had to rely more on their outside shooting, but Paul, luckily for them, they're hitting better than they were in the first half.
And that improved inside efficiency by the Bulls, all tracing back to the penetration by Michael Jordan.
But for the game, San Antonio still at 64%. Well, as they've shot all year. Shot clock down to 7. Maxwell lets it go. Mahalik looks to none for the call, and he says Spurs ball. That's not what Jackson had in mind right after a timeout.
Well, allowing 2 consecutive teams to shoot in the 60 percentile is not what he had in mind either.
Number 5, wave off the bucket. Number 5 on Cartwright, who got Robinson before he could turn.
Cartwright is 5th.
It has not been a fair fight at center tonight. Cartwright held to 2 points, 3 rebounds with 5 fouls. That's what you get for outplaying Robinson. Outscored him in the first meeting 16-14. David turns on him again, and the foul won't go, and he'll be called for the over-the-back loose ball foul. That is his 4th. But you know, he's had a knack, and again, we're talking about expectations. A lot of people wondered if he might not struggle with foul trouble as a rookie, and quite to the contrary, he's shown a great knowledge of exactly when to back off, and very rarely has he had to play with as many as 4 or 5 this year.
Super body control combined with the fact that he has already earned rare respect from the officials for a rookie.
Paxson has returned to the game. Jordan taking it in and turned away by the Admiral. One of their rare man-on-man confrontations. Long finger roll off for Cummings. Anderson. Finally, Terry Cummings for the tap-in. And the lead is 12. It has settled into a half-court bang-it-out affair here in the second half. Paxson has seen his shooting touch depart since the first quarter. Cummings over King for 2 more. 100-86. If the Spurs keep shooting like this, there's not a team in the league that's going to beat them here at home.
Bulls on the ropes, and the Spurs looking to put them away. But remember, this game was just like this in reverse in Chicago, and the Spurs almost came back to win it. Michael Jordan putting on an indescribable show.
39. Next highest Bull has 13. That's Pippen. 39 of their 88 points. on an average night for Jordan. This is about a 20-point Spurs lead at this point. But the fans didn't sell this place out to see an average night by Jordan. And that will do it for Cartwright, number 6.
First of all, let's take a look at that lightning baseline jam by Michael Jordan to ring up points number 38 and 39 on the night. And Bill Cartwright doesn't like the call, but it doesn't matter what Bill doesn't like because he's going to sit down. He finishes the night 1 of 5 from the field for 2 points.
For Chicago.
So the former Knick with a forgettable evening. And Jackson taking his time before getting Stacey King in off the bench. Now it's going to be Purdue. And the fans have a villain to boo tonight. And if you missed it the first half, he clotheslined David Robinson, took him right out. David popped up. Didn't appear to have any lasting damage at all, but it was an ugly foul by Will Purdue.
It actually just happened because David is so much quicker than Purdue was, but it looked like it was very malicious.
We'll keep track of that rebound total for the Bulls. As you saw, they still need 6 to tie their all-time low. We only have 7.5 minutes to play. Jordan with that tongue out. Not enough in the lane to operate. Pippen missed a 3. And David missed his 16th rebound. Lost it out of bounds. Not a bad job by this man in his first year as a head coach at the NBA level. He did coach 5 years at Albany in the CBA. Wingate back in for Maxwell.
And Jackson was once a CBA Coach of the Year. Good to see a guy pay his dues in the coaching profession and be rewarded for it.
Knocked out Cummings. Touched it. And the Bulls to inbound with 7:16 to play. One beneficiary of the coaching change, Purdue. He rarely played nearly this much in Doug Collins last year. Foul on Willie Anderson, his 3rd, each team with 2 here in the 4th. Spurs trying to go 8-2 for the year in the 2nd game of a back-to-back situation. One of those inexplicable happenings. They're only 6-5 in the first game. Much more effective the less rest they have this year. Once again off the Spurs. But the hands very active, even if they don't go for steals, they're going for deflections. And that is the type of defensive activity Brown looks for every night.
And it started with that defensive renaissance Monday night in Los Angeles against the Lakers when the Spurs won 86-84.
A rare Jordan miss. Rebound 16 for Robinson. Anderson threaded the needle between the 2 Bull big men, the Cheeks, who was returned. Robinson up over Purdue and down to Pippen. 100-88 ball game. Intended for Grant, again knocked out. That's 4 or 5 passes in a row the Spurs have deflected away from the paint.
It's that closing speed. You could never tell the Spurs had played last night. No dead-leggedness at all.
Back in Frank Rakowski. Robinson with 29 points, 16 rebounds. He'll go to the bench. Grant behind a Purdue screen, the pick and roll. That angle barely draws iron, goes after and gets his own rebound, and they'll reset with Paxson. Strange at this point in their careers, Paxson, John that is, a bigger part of his club than Jim, who's been a 2-time All-Star and currently on the bench for the Boston Celtics.
Coaches love John because he doesn't mess up.
Jordan, a streak shooter, of course, and he is on a negative streak. Bulls haven't scored in coming up on 2.5 minutes now as they trail by 12. Shot clock at 7. Alley-oop stolen by Purdue. He was the SEC Player of the Year his senior year over people like Vernon Maxwell and Willie Anderson.
And that's just a testament to hard work. He made himself into a good player.
Yeah, you look at him and you don't immediately, except for the obvious, the 7 feet height, you don't see an NBA star there. You don't see a guy you'd think would be drafted 11th in the first round. Timeout. Pippen not able to find anybody to throw it into. And the Bulls now down to their final 2 timeouts after this one. 5 minutes, 37 seconds to go in regulation. And Larry Brown that close to career victory 500 as he leads by 12. Tennessee State basketball star Ed Too Tall Jones in attendance at Hemisphere Arena tonight. He also played a little bit of football in his day.
First pick in the entire NFL draft back in 1974. And there you see Phil Jackson craning to get a look at Too Tall Jones.
Guess we shouldn't speak of him yet in the past tense. He may hook up with somebody this year. Pippen fouled on his double clutch move in the lane by Brakowski, his third, and the third against the team.
Yeah, we should mention very quickly while we look at the replay that talking about Too Tall, that just because he was left unprotected does not necessarily mean he won't be back with the Cowboys.
Writing's on the wall, though, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. He said he'll make up his mind in March or April whether or not he wants to put forth the physical effort to play his 16th season of professional football.
Robinson back in. He'll replace Brick if they allow it. And they will let David stay in. Jackson says, wait a minute. The ball was in the hands of Pippen. Jackson's going to say, wait a minute, that's too late to make a substitution. So Ronnie Nunn and Paul Mahalik left to right in this discussion. And the Spurs will prevail. David gets to stay in. As we mentioned, Thursday night at the Summit in Houston, Rockets 139, Bulls 112. Tonight, 7 minutes to go first half. Phoenix 54, Houston 31.
That's the Rockets for you.
Anderson 16. Having another big fourth quarter. 6 points in a little over 6 minutes, and the lead is 12 with 5:15 to play. Bulls continue to hammer away on their slashing drives, turned away by Grant's miss. Anderson saves to Robinson. And the Spurs now in a position to be very patient. They can afford to use a lot of time every possession. They turn it over here. Jordan with that tongue wagging. The pull-up jumper rolls down. 41. The 11th time this year he surpassed 40. They're 8-2 in those games. This stands to be only the third loss. It's the 28th time he's had at least 30, and they're 18-9 in those games. That's a turnaround. Years past, when he had 40 or more, their record of success went down. They were better when he was in the high 20s to the high 30s.
Just a reflection on the strengthening of the other portions of their teams.
Pippen underneath, and offensive foul. Anderson knocked on his back in the contact here. Fourth foul on Scottie Pippen. And Larry Brown up for a timeout.
And the ball's going to take a rest.
Well, it deserves one. 4:17 to go. And the Spurs 102, the Bulls 92 here at Hemisphere.
We told you back at the start of the game that both teams have utilized a 1-2 punch for their early season success. Going into this game, the Bulls were getting about 45% of their offense from the tandem of Jordan and Pippen, and the Spurs were getting about 43% of theirs from Robinson and Cummings. As you'll see, Jordan and Pippen have really been leaned on tonight. Michael Jordan in particular with 41 points, while the Spurs have spread the scoring out a little better than has Chicago.
4 minutes and 17 seconds, 102-92. Before the sixth sold-out house of the year here at Hemisphere. Spurs have yet to lose before an SRO crowd. They have won each of the previous 5. And with a 10-point lead here at 102-92, in pretty good shape to make it 6 for 6. Bulls ready to trap. They've got to make things happen defensively now. So the Spurs do a good job playing keep away. Shot clock under 10. Robinson against King. Cheeks guarded by Paxson. 5 to shoot. Anderson moving on. Jordan. And Robinson, almost a great follow there. Launched himself at a 45-degree angle to have a shot at the tip-in. Willie fouling King at the other end, and that is his 4th, as well as the 4th team foul.
Smart play by the rookie Stacey King out of Oklahoma as he runs down the long pass. I watch him lean back into Willie. And Stacey King goes to the free throw line. If things hold as they are, the Bulls would fall 3 full games back of Detroit in the NBA's Central Division.
They've taken turns leading the thing. Indiana out of the gate, and then Chicago, and now Detroit, which has won over Cleveland tonight, 105 to 100. 1 of 2 for King. Robinson with his 18th board.
So that would mean then that the Bulls would be 3.5 games back of Detroit.
Robinson equaling his season high with those 18 rebounds, also with his 6 assists tonight, equaling a season high. Cummings with 6 to shoot. Almost taken down by Anderson. Bulls with the ball, down 9, plenty of time, 3:20 to go. And they work it for a Pippen 3-pointer. It stays down. 16th 3-pointer of the year for Pippen. 18th point of the night. We are far from over. Spurs have rarely trailed tonight. They've led by as many as 16, but Chicago has not called in the troops. Just the opposite. Robinson stays after it and will go for a 3-point play.
Now the Bulls are contending that David in effect passed the ball to himself and committed a walk, but as you'll see, his shot is blocked, so he stays with it, pulls it down, and alertly heads right back to the basket.
The foul was Jordan's 2nd. Maxwell in for Wingate. Jackson not real happy, although the replay showed otherwise, and Robinson up to 32 points. Next to last timeout for Phil Jackson of the Bulls. And one more look here.
Boy, this is a huge possession for the Spurs because things were starting to be a little bit hairy.
I'll tell you what.
That looks a little different from that angle, doesn't it, Dave?
From the other angle, it looked clear-cut. From that angle, he may have very well had an argument.
It's entirely possible because, as you see, David squeezes the shot off. It's a one-handed shot resting completely in his left hand. And once again, from this angle, it appears that perhaps Phil Jackson and the Bulls have a case. Nevertheless, David Robinson gets credit for the 2.
I think he's almost got the referees in this league in awe. Understandably so.
Well, it's hard not to sit around and watch it.
3-pointers, a big part of the Bulls' arsenal. They've made 138. That's more than the Spurs have attempted. 132 tries for the year. And Chicago with 3 tonight. 1 by Jordan, 1 by Hodges, 1 by Pippen. Spurs rarely lose when they win the battle of the boards, and tonight, 43 to 27. Chicago still 1 rebound below their all-time club record for fewest rebounds in a game. But with 2:53 to go, they should manage to avoid that low point.
Well, Dave, with the margin 9 and under 3 minutes remaining, I would imagine it wouldn't be too long before we see Craig Hodges back out on the floor.
About his time in the game, you're right. But he has not peeled the sweats. That was a huge 3-point play by Robinson a moment ago. If it's a turnover, the way Jackson wanted it called, his club's got the ball down by only 6, 102 to 96. Instead, it's 105 with 2:53 remaining. And he stays with that same 5 of Pippen, Paxson, Grant, King, and Jordan. Bulls have won 4 straight over the Spurs, dating back to December of '85. But this has been a season of streaks brought to crashing halts by the Spurs. They've won in Boston for the first time in over a decade. Monday night they won at the Forum for the first time since January of '84, and they're trying to put an end to another one here tonight. Jordan inside the 3-point arc, rebounded by Robinson. There's a new season high of 19 boards by the Admiral. Make it 20. They updated. 20 rebounds. A 30-20 game on the heels of his triple-double last night. Cummings lines it up a bit short. That will be number 5. Over the back goes Robinson.
Yep, even David Robinson will get called for that one. David clearly over the back. Just a remarkable back-to-back performance by the rookie out of the Naval Academy. 11 block shots last night, 20 boards tonight.
You know, something else that's remarkable, and I particularly remember us talking about this in Chicago. He looked gassed in that game. And as the season has gone on, he has gotten more and more energetic. Very rarely toward the ends of these games have I noticed him looking tired lately.
His conditioning much improved, and also out of a sense of fairness, we should point out that in that Chicago game in which he really did look gassed, as you said, Dave, he also took a real blow to the abdomen in the third quarter of that game, and that appeared to affect his performance somewhat.
105-97. Bulls stay within 8. 2:13 to go. And the backcourt pressure beaten. Maxwell, Cheeks, and Anderson to handle the ball. Cummings and Robinson looking for inside position.
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Double David. Here's Cheeks. We're under 2 minutes. Down to 3 to shoot. Cheeks with the prayer. Barely draws iron. Right to Maxwell. They'll pull it out and use some more time.
No question the Spurs have played awfully well, but they have also benefited from some real fortuitous bounces tonight.
On the reverse, Cummings needs 2 tries. It goes. 17 points.
Super pass inside by Vernon Maxwell.
Left-handed touch by Stacey King. 8 of his 14 here in the fourth quarter. Pretty good poise for a rookie. 107-99. And again, the game of keep away. Robinson deflected and stolen by Pippen. David lucky he didn't foul out there. Scottie Pippen makes it a 6-point Spurs margin. Again, Robinson up to help. He had Maxwell free. Couldn't find him, though, in the sea of arms. Vernon had run a pretty good fly pattern. We go under a minute. Shot clock under 10. Cummings under the hoop will shoot 2. Foul is on Grant, number 4, against him and the team.
And it goes without saying.
110. First full game without Gary Grant, who broke his ankle last night.
Makes you want to cry.
Makes you never want to be a Clipper.
That's for sure. Who was it that said, I forget who's responsible for this quote, he said every time the Clippers have a player that scores 20 points, something terrible happens to him. So if I played for the Clippers, as soon as I was averaging 19 points a game, I'd stop shooting.
Derek Smith, who had the same thing happen to him. He tore up his knee when he was having a career year. Jordan not there for the 3. Cheeks with Cummings, but the pass is behind him. Paxson. And a holding foul. Terry Cummings grabbed John Paxson to try and keep him from getting the interception off his deflection. It's the third on Terry. We've got 40.9 seconds to go. The Spurs lead 108-101, but Paxson, who has been scoreless here in the second half, can try and cut it to a 5-point game. Number 1 pick out of Notre Dame at 83 by the Spurs. I'm wondering if he's going to get number 500 or not. Paxson does his job. 108-103. And the Spurs need to do a little bit better job against the pressure. They do here. Maxwell will pull it out. Down to 33 seconds. 13 on the shot clock, up by 5. Willie grabbed by Pippen, his 5th foul and the 5th against the team. Anderson to shoot in the bonus with 24.6 seconds to go. It's not quite over, but if Willie knocks down these 2, it is all but.
And watching the Spurs break what was actually a pretty good press by the Bulls gives you one more reason to appreciate David Robinson. Just amazing that a man 7'1" can be that agile and be that comfortable in an open court situation.
Refs had to be reminded that the bonus does in fact exist for the Spurs. And they're still checking. Well, it's both their 5th as a team and their 2nd in the last 2 minutes. Either way you slice it, it's going to be free throws for Willie. Tensions eased completely between Brown and Anderson this year, neither one of whom reacted very well to the losing last year. Not that you'd want them to necessarily.
No, it tells you something about both individuals as competitors, and they're both real strong-willed individuals, and it's great that they're now back on the same page.
Final timeout by Phil Jackson for the Bulls with 24.6 seconds to go. Willie does the job at the line, 110 to 103, San Antonio. As they go for their 19th straight here at home, they're 6th out of the last 8 overall. They're 4th in a row overall. They would go to 31 and 13, a total reversal of their record at the same point last year. And they continue through the Central Division next week. Atlanta comes in on Tuesday. Good seats left for that one. You can still snap them up. 7:30 tip-off here at the arena. That'll be followed by Indiana's only visit of the season to San Antonio on Thursday, likewise at 7:30, and seats are available. Can't be out here. We will have the telecast on HSE for the Atlanta game on Tuesday, beginning with Sports Talk at 7 o'clock. Then the All-Star break, and the Spurs get back after that at Dallas on Tuesday the 13th. At center, no contest. A 30-20 game by Robinson, and the Bulls combined with 13 fouls at their center spot, along with 16 points and only 9 rebounds between Cartwright, Perdue, and King. Pippen to Jordan, guarded by Anderson. Doesn't look for the 3. They go in for the quick 2 by Scottie Pippen, 110 to 105. And they didn't have to have the 3 there, because if they get a steal here, they can cut it to 2 or perhaps 3.
And now looking forward to the three-point opportunity, Craig Hodges in the ballgame for Chicago.
And Jordan wraps up Cheeks. Not necessarily the man he would prefer to foul, but he didn't have a choice. Cheeks 86% for the season at the line, 15.4 seconds to go. 110 to 105 San Antonio.
Mo with 4 assists so far tonight, go along with the 9 he had last night.
And that leaves the door slightly ajar. If he makes this one, the Bulls are 2 3-pointers away from forcing overtime. 7 points for Mo. Jordan down. Anderson not going to give him room for the 3. So he goes with the skip pass. Hodges does get the 3. This is what the Spurs had to fear. 7.2 seconds. The quick foul with only a half-second elapsed. And that will be all for Pippen. He's one of their 3-point threats, but he is no longer available. He fouls out with 22 points. 14 here in the second half.
Michael Jordan looking for the shot initially, then makes the diagonal pass to Craig Hodges, who knocks down his second 3-pointer of the night. He now has 53 trays this season.
He's the 4th most accurate 3-point shooter in the history of that shot. Not a bad option. King in, replacing Pippen. And Robinson tonight, 12 of 14 at the line. 33 points. Along with those other very impressive numbers. 1 of 2, got his own rebound, then they lose it and knocked out of bounds after it winds up in the hands of Grant. 3.5 seconds to go in a 4-point game. That free throw he made really looming large here. Paxson. Jordan, turn around for 3. Got it at the buzzer, counted, and the Spurs take a 1-point victory. Number 500
Dave,
in the stellar career of Larry Brown.
Congratulations to Larry Brown, but I wonder if any of us have any idea how close that came to becoming a 4-point play.
Well, too close. Jordan's 3 makes it a 1-point loss for Phil Jackson. First in over 4 years for the Bulls at the hands of San Antonio. 112 to 111. The Spurs make it 20-1 here at home. We're back for more in a moment.
12 to 111.